And as we have people in the practice of yoga, there's a spectrum, right? So you have people that want to move their body, they want to move their physical body, they're already athletic. And then you have this whole other group that isn't super athletic, maybe are in pain, don't want to move their body as much, but how do you get them to bridge the gap? We are humans being, not humans doing. So, can people just feel comfortable in their body? And when the pain is riddled, or when the body is riddled with pain, for many people, their body is not a friendly place to live. I believe that people want to help themselves, but they haven't been resourceful enough to find the things that are going to make the change for them.
Humans are on all these antidepressant medications. If it actually worked, then the people who are depressed wouldn't be depressed anymore. I believe from doing this for so long, the way you really start fixing depression is by... So Christine, welcome to the podcast.
Mark, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to get started.
We've been talking for like 20 minutes already, so I figured I just had to get this started. So full name, Christine Raffa. You own Raffa Life, Raffa Yoga, Raffa Spa. I'm putting it all together.
Absolutely.
In Cranston. So when I first walked in here, I was blown away. And at that time, I'd still own my business, but the first thing I noticed was like how enormous this place is, but how clean it is.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And I remember going, I was talking to my father because he'd always helped me with the business. I was like, you're going to see this place. Like, it's immaculate, right? And so for me coming in, I was like, wow, this is like something like in my head, it's always stuck as like, that's a goal, right? To have it look like that. Even when you go to the bathroom, everything's like so clean. So I really wanted to commend you on that. I would say I've been to a few yoga studios. This has to be the premier from my perspective.
Well,
I mean, you don't have to say that. Yeah.
Big compliment.
So we talk about everything that you do. So I first want to start, like, what led you to yoga, right? Because before you're a business person, you're just taking yoga.
Sure.
Right. And that passion becomes a business. So what led you to that?
Sure. So years ago, I started as a massage therapist. And so I'm a licensed certified massage therapist in the state of Rhode Island, but I wanted to know more. So I became involved in neuromuscular therapy, and I became a certified St. John neuromuscular therapist. So really my area of expertise is myofascial pain syndromes of the head, neck, and face. So I did lots of work with any structural issues of the face, lots of injuries, car accidents, boating accidents, anything where the head and neck were out of alignment, if you will, but not like a bone alignment. I worked with muscles and the lever systems of ligaments, tendons, etc. So I did that very successfully for 10 years at a place over on Reservoir Avenue. We had about 15 therapists working for us. At the time I was married. My husband and I ran the business together. And I was seeing so many chronically injured people. And the one like real theme that just stuck out to me was their mindset. The more injured they were and the more pain they were in, the dimmer or the bleaker their mindset was on their life, their quality of life, and what the future looked like. So dealing with that day in and day out, at the time I was just doing neuromuscular therapy, so I was seeing probably 50 clients a week. And I was just like, wow, I've got to get around some positive people here. Like this, like chronic pain and kind of the drag of, not knowing and the uncertainty of what their future held. I was like, I've got to get a little bit more into, something more positive. My background for fitness was marathon running. I was a long distance runner. I ran my first marathon when I was 14. So I spent a lot of time alone, right? Just running miles, putting miles on my body, that sort of thing. And I just became really tight in my body. And I was watching the wedding video of my sister, one of my sisters, and I saw myself walk down the aisle, and I was just like, oh my gosh, who is that person? Like I was so stiff, and I was just like, my upper back didn't like quite move, and I was horrified when I saw that. And I just thought to myself, man, I've got to get some mobility into my body. I need to start doing some yoga. And at the time, yoga wasn't super vogue. I picked up Beryl Bender's Birch Yoga for Runners book, and I started doing yoga in my living room. just learning basic techniques. It was based on the Ashtanga principles. And that's kind of my avenue into yoga. But my husband and I were in our neuromuscular practice, and I would always give patients like yoga stretches to try to, work their spine and create some level of mobility. And so my husband says one night, you got to show a whole bunch of people the stretches at once so it's time effective. So I'll never forget this, Mark. We hung up this like little cheesy sign that said like, learn yoga Thursday night, 6 p.m., whatever. And 23 people showed up for this little free session. My husband and I looked at each other and we were like, all right, this has teeth. And so from there, I went into the avenue of figuring out what yoga was. At the time, there wasn't a lot of options. You were either doing Bikram, or someone told me about this guy named Baron Baptiste who had just opened up in Boston. And so I took the trek up to Boston, and I went to Boston. Baron was teaching the class. And I'll never forget, I had my neuromuscular jacket on with my name on the side of it, my logo. And on the way out the door, Baron was standing there and he looked at my jacket and he said, Christine, you should think about doing the teacher training. He goes, it's coming up in May. You should join us in Mexico. And I remember I looked at Baron and I said, yeah, I think I will. And he handed me a brochure about it. It's the first class. Okay. He handed me a brochure on it, and the rest is kind of history.
So that's interesting. I've been coming here, but we've never really talked. This just for a couple of weeks. Totally. So I don't know if you know this, but I was like a chronic pain physical therapist.
Oh, I did not know that at all.
So like literally I just worked with chronic pain patients from a physiatrist. And so there's a couple of things with that. Anytime you have any physical ailments, there's an emotional component.
Of course.
Right? Now, who says what comes first?
Of course.
Right? Because I think it can happen both ways. But one of the things that led me to going to my business full time, which I had simultaneously, is the fact that I was good at what I did, but after a while, I couldn't keep myself level, right? Because everyone's in pain and I'm bringing the light. But now after so many years, after so many patients, it's like, I can't do this. I knew internally that I couldn't keep myself level, right? Because if you care, you're giving everything. And that's actually what led me to not go part-time and then just really only one patient now to my full business. With that being said, I also knew that I could affect more people positively through my fitness and martial arts business and stuff like that, which is now manifesting. The thing with physical therapy is they don't talk a lot about myofascial pain, right? There's actually therapists who specialize in that. They have like John Barnes and stuff like that. So I've watched a couple of his videos. Most people are not going to understand that a lot of their pain comes from the fascial lining being tight, right? The muscles not being able to move.
Sure.
Versus, well, I have a disc issue or I have this issue, because they can put people in an MRI and it'll show that you have a disc herniation, but they have no pain.
Gotcha.
Right? And then they'll show people who, have a disc herniation and do have pain. So there's something missing there, right? Because you would figure if the MRI shows that the disc is herniated, you'd have pain. Well, it's not always the case, right?
Of course.
So there has to be other things at play. Your muscles, right? Your fascia, which covers the muscles, like on the white, on the orange. The mindset that plays into it. I just did a podcast last night, and I was talking about the fact that your mindset controls if you heal or not.
Agree.
Right? Like that's the huge thing. So as a therapist, I would always try to use humor. I would always try to get them to trust me that I knew what I was doing.
Definitely.
Because then everything heals itself, right? So to speak.
Sure.
But as a neuromuscular therapist, it sounds like you were on the same path.
Yes.
Right?
Very, very similar. It's so ironic, and we never met all these years.
And I also think that when the reason I started yoga, I was always lifting weights. And as a kid getting thrown in jiu-jitsu, I was stiff. Right? Even when I come into class now, for me to turn this way, like I'm built for stability, not mobility.
Sure.
Right? And I needed to not be sore. So I started doing yoga. Mm-hmm. Well, I didn't know, even as a therapist, a martial artist, a fitness instructor, like opening my side body, what was that? Right? Sure. And I'm a therapist. I'm a doctor of physical therapy.
Yeah.
And that's made the biggest change for me. Like learning how to open, because in therapy, in therapy, there's functional therapy, of course, but like to do stuff where you're in turning and holding it because that's when the myofascial really releases after like that 90 seconds or so, was huge. It's not something in therapy. I think when I was talking to Pam, yoga actually has these elements that need to be incorporated in therapy. I think you should go to therapy until you're good enough to do yoga, right? Depending on your injury.
Absolutely.
And then that's the route that you go. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think yoga is a path of personal responsibility. And, you know, you could take 5 different positions in Warrior One. Which one is correct? It's the one that you're doing with the most presence and awareness. And I think in my experience over, you know, I'll be in business 29 years this year as a neuromuscular therapist. I think the information earlier on is not the same information we're getting today. And muscles move bones. Right. Bones do not move muscles. So bones are there for structure and stability, but muscles are there for motion and locomotion. And there's something called somatic amnesia. It's where the muscle forgets how long it can actually become. So if you train your muscles short as a bodybuilder, then you're training the muscle length or the muscle Golgi tendon organ to be at a certain, you know, distance, if you will. One of the great avenues of yoga is that you use your breath as a pranic generator, prana being energy, generator being the thing that actually moves the system. Your body's a closed loop system. Well, the practice of Surya Namaskara, which is yoga, the classical sense of sun salutation, Surya Namaskara is a closed loop system. It's a system to get the pranic generator in your body open, and subsequently using those 12 postures or poses in a systematic way with a cadence which is driven by your breath is the key to unlock thee, as they say. So it's the key to unlock your own self.
And I think that, well, I know when people are in pain, they don't breathe.
Oh, without
right. So you get constricted.
Yes.
Right. That's what happens. You also become kinesiophobic, which means you don't want to move.
Of course.
Right. So yes, I think adding in the breathing, bringing back your posture. Right. Because when people are in pain, you know, they're hunched over. Right. They're not. But to bring you back into where your body wants to be, it retrains your body where it should be.
Yes.
You know, and that's one of the main things I found out doing yoga was like how much it actually goes into the full component.
Without a doubt.
You know?
And as we have people in the practice of yoga, there's a spectrum, right? So you have people that want to move their body, they want to move their physical body, they're already athletic. And then you have this whole other group that isn't super athletic, as you said, maybe are in pain, don't want to move their body as much, but how do you get them to bridge the gap? And for us here at Raffa Yoga, we teach something called neurosomatics. And neurosomatics is our lowest level moving class. It's a floor-based system that works very specifically with your breath and movement patterns. And the movement patterns that you use are done to deflate the parasympathetic nervous system. So when you're breathing to interrupt the pain pattern. And as we know, nerves drive the avenue of what the muscles are doing. So the nervous system is like the electrical switchboard in the body. And when the nervous system is turned on, and it's turned on because there's an accident or there's an injury or there's chronic grinding pain, nobody ever shuts it off. So that becomes this closed loop system that keeps running. Well, in neurosomatics, we teach the individual through gentle, soft motion, consistent breath pattern to actually deflate their nervous system. And in the neuromuscular field, it's called the startle reflex. So we want to take them out of fight, flight, or freeze, and we want to bring them into rest and digest.
Yep, and I think that's extremely important, right? Because when you are living in that survival mode, like you can't think clearly, right?
Totally.
You are not making great decisions. You're in pain. And again, if you're always in a constant state of tension, you add on more pain because your muscles are getting tighter.
Definitely.
Right? And one of the things, like, as a PT, like, yeah, we're taught breathing techniques. But did I ever do them with my patient? Like, okay, breathe, Christine.
Yeah. Sure.
But now do the hamstring stretch.
Yeah.
Right? You know what I'm saying? And like, I'm honestly, like, maybe I'm wrong, but like, insurance would look at my billing and be like, you did 60 minutes of breathing with that patient?
Really?
And they'd be like, no, I'm not paying for that. You know what I'm saying? So there's like a huge disconnect. Here's the thing I want to get at. this is my philosophy, and sometimes I get flack for this, which I always laugh. I know that people inherently really don't want to exercise a lot of times, right? My job is to get you moving.
Sure.
But now I also know that everyone's at different levels, right? You might have been in a wheelchair, you might have been in an accident, you might not be able to bend because you're afraid, right? We had a client who, she was diagnosed with fibromyalgia, right? And every little thing hurt her. Okay. Well, I know that she right now is fearful of movement.
Sure.
Right? So we have to take her, okay, here's a normal class, and we have to take her aside to help her do what she needs to do to become more confident in her movement and then bring her back in, right? But what I get flack for is some people will see with the kickboxing.
Sure.
Well, they didn't do the punch right. Totally get it. Listen, mostly women, middle-aged. They're not going to do this to fight somebody. They're doing this so they don't get diabetes and they don't get a heart attack or they don't have a stroke. And people be like, well, they should be punching right. Well, are they safe? Yeah, of course. Diabetes does not care what your roundhouse kick looks like.
Gotcha.
Diabetes just cares that you are moving your body.
Definitely.
As long as you're safe, right? And that's been my philosophy forever, because I feel like when trainers do it, oh, it has to be perfect. No, it doesn't. You just have to move.
Sure.
Right? And some people don't even want to be perfect. It's the same thing in yoga. You said there's 5 different positions. Listen, if you're trying your best in yoga, who cares if you're just doing these, right? Is the philosophy, because you're doing it. I mean, there's stuff that I could do in yoga, but I choose not to, because for me, I don't need to be doing the headstands and stuff like that.
Sure.
But what I really need to do is rotate my body, right? Because I know for me what I need, and everyone needs something different. I feel like you guys do a really good job of whatever your level is, do what you can. And that was my philosophy as a trainer always.
Yeah.
I'm training so many people. And I feel like a lot of trainers are just like, it's got to be perfect. No, you just have to be consistent and have fun.
Definitely. We have a multidisciplinary approach. Here at Raffa Yoga, we host over 80 different classes a week. And so the classes go from the lowest level of neurosomatics all the way up to more of an advanced level, which would be a power vinyasa class. As you mentioned, Pam is one of our most popular instructors. She's great.
She's awesome.
We teach a real mindful class. Grace, who also is a psychologist. So she gives a lot of the mindset stuff in a slower moving class, which also people totally tag onto. We offer Kundalini yoga, which is almost all breathing technique. So in the Kundalini process, you're learning to move energy through the spine and really bring more awareness into your body, just to presence your body. A lot of people don't realize it, but Kundalini yoga is really good for the addicted mind. And so for many people...
Is that because it's like a pattern interrupt?
Exactly, without a doubt. So bringing that breath in really helps to interrupt that need or that pattern that's going on for people. But what I would say is that the biggest thing is people need to trust their own body. And if we draw it back to the chronic pain patient, many of those people have lost trust in their ability to live.
Well, I also think that a lot of times doctors mean well, but they label these patients with these diagnoses and these diseases.
Yes.
And that becomes part of you. It's like
they identify as it. You know?
And here's the thing. Once you identify as it, if you lose it, you lose part of your identity.
Absolutely.
So now we're in a catch-22.
Sure.
Well, why have this disease? Well, if I lose that, then maybe I don't get the sympathy from these people. Or I don't get the benefits over here, right?
Yeah, and that's the mental, emotional component that comes into the whole grandeur of chronic pain patterning. And, you know, that's a topic in and of itself. Sure. But when you really talk about mind, body, spirit, if you will, and the human being, right? We are humans being, not humans doing. So, you know, can people just feel comfortable in their body? And when the pain is riddled, or when the body is riddled with pain, for many people, their body is not a friendly place to live. And therefore, they don't trust their body. They don't trust their ability to move. They don't trust their ability to make the correct decisions. And then it's just that karmic wheel continues to roll. And I believe that people want to help themselves, but oftentimes they either don't have the resources or they haven't been resourceful enough to find the things that are going to make the change for them.
And I think once you're in that pattern for a while, doctors give up on you, right? So if you're not an advocate for yourself and you're looking for other avenues to better yourself,
sure,
I think then you're in that rut, right? And then that's when you need someone like me or you who you can like trust and follow.
Definitely.
Right? Until you get on your feet. So we talked about, you know, we have this yoga journey.
Yes.
First day, like, we're going to be a teacher. How did that lead into opening a yoga studio?
Yeah. So when I was actually doing yoga and looking to integrate it into my neuromuscular practice, we actually did open a yoga studio. For those of the people that actually know me on Reservoir Avenue, we actually rented another suite in that building. I had like 4 different suites in that building. And we did open a yoga studio for about 8 months. And we quickly outgrew that space. I mean, quickly, like in a nanosecond, we really went from having 3, 6, 9 students, you know, to having 29 students. And it was just really clear that we needed to set up in a more of a professional setting. So from there, I just decided, I was like, hey, you know, let's do this. Let's see what happens. And so we opened in Cranston on Reservoir Avenue. And then almost a year to the date, it was May 1st of the year 2000, almost a year to the date, we opened a second location in Barrington, Rhode Island. And then about 18 months after that, we opened our third location in North Kingstown, Rhode Island. And we ran those successfully until about 2009. So I had those 3 locations in 2009. And then I really wanted to add the spa component to it. You know, I love my neuromuscular practice. I was still running that location, had about 12 therapists there, and had the 3 yoga studios. Quickly realized I can't be in 3 yoga studios at the same time. I was really working nonstop. I was teaching every single day. I think I was teaching like 22 classes a week. And, you know, I sat down and I really had to ask myself, like, what do you really want your day to look like? Like, do you want to be in the car, rushing to Barrington, running down and I just, the answer to that was no. What I really wanted was a central location that I could bring all the things that I love into play. I love doing yoga. I love standing on my hands. I love the athleticism of it. I really enjoyed working with people with chronic pain. And then another not known thing, if you will, about me is what brought me to Rhode Island was actually Johnson & Wales. So I started with a culinary arts degree. So I'm a heck of a foodie, if you will. So back when I was a young kid, I was a vegetarian back then. I really was appalled at eating meat or animals. You know, my parents thought I had a eating disorder because I didn't want to eat any meat. That was not the case. I just was really conscious about not eating meat. And so when I thought about this location, I was like, I want to put a cafe in it. I want to teach people healthy eating. And I want to bring all things yoga and healthy under one roof. And so I started looking for the building. And if you remember back in 2009, we had just had the financial crash. Things were really upside down.
I was still younger then.
Yeah, so
I might be a little gray now.
But in truth, when that was going on, the economic outlook wasn't great. So I really started looking around. And when I found this building, I had looked at a couple. There weren't a lot of buildings that were big enough for what I was looking to do. It was a big stretch from what I was going to. But when I got here, I was like, I can make this work.
So one of the things about entrepreneurs is that if you are made to be an entrepreneur, I don't think everyone can. I think you have to have the drive for it. You have to have like the brain.
Sure.
Right. And sometimes, so a lot of people who are entrepreneurs have ADD. Which can be a superpower if you can harness it.
Absolutely.
But it also means that we get bored super easy, right? So that we have all these businesses and you have 3 different clinics. And obviously, you probably know this, one of the mistakes that entrepreneurs make early on is they open a second, third location. And then if you're still the face of it, you can't be in 3 different places at once,
Absolutely.
Right? So it leads you to a central location. But you have many businesses under this roof. Can we just go through them?
Sure.
I mean, you made me take this shot over here before we started. I feel it.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of things going on.
Yeah.
In here, can you explain what goes on?
Yeah, totally. So everything that we have in this building here at Raffa is an offshoot to build the vitality of people's lives.
There's a central core theme.
There really is. And what I like to say is absolutely everyone is welcome. And people's entry points for health and well-being come in different shapes and sizes. So one person might walk in just wanting to get a juice at the juice bar.
What is this, by the way?
This actually is a hot shot. So this has
I'm used to like maybe Fireball at college.
Yeah, this is so good. And what this really does is it really ignites your digestive fire, if you will. But it's also it's a really great thing to do instead of caffeine. And I like to, anytime that I'm doing any speaking or presenting, I always like to have a little fire shot and toast to life, if you will.
I understand.
Absolutely. So within the building, we have our yoga section, Raffa Yoga, and we have our softer side to Raffa Yoga. So we offer, as I mentioned, 80 yoga classes a week, multidisciplinary.
All fitness levels.
All fitness levels. We also have a fitness component that we call Raffa Fit. And we also have anti-gravity yoga, which are the hammocks that hang from the ceiling and you're able to go upside down. In addition to anti-gravity yoga, we offer restorative anti-gravity yoga, where the hammocks are only 6 inches off the ground. And so that's a very restorative way to use this piece of equipment, this hammock, to really elongate the body and get almost like a gyrotonic movement into the body.
If I put that into my PT terms, we're offloading gravity. Right, because we're hanging. Yeah, so we're elongating the muscles. Because, listen, I was never 5'5". I will say I am.
Okay.
I'm going down.
Okay.
You know, because that's what the effect gravity has on us. So I should probably get in a hammock.
So hanging upside down from your hip flexors, or what we call monkey pose in anti-gravity yoga, would definitely be super helpful for you. But as you know, Mark, as being an entrepreneur, one of the things that I always came up against is knowing what I had going on in my business. So much like you said, I get bored very easy, but I like to actually say I have many interests.
Okay.
Is that I went and got trained in everything that's really happening within the facility. So, I got certified in anti-gravity yoga. Obviously, I'm trained in all different modalities for yoga. I've taken probably 10, 12 different teacher trainings over the years. And after I was teaching about 10 years, we started our own program of the Raffa Yoga teacher training. And we have run that successfully for the last 12 years. Another business.
I want to ask you about that, right? Because I always thought, and maybe it's my limited mindset, right? Because you have more experience than I do. But I'm like, she's training yoga instructors, which may or may not work here, but are going to work other places, or maybe start their own.
Absolutely.
And now I understand that, like, if everybody who wanted to do yoga did yoga, there wouldn't be enough yoga studios in the state. But for me, I always thought, wow, like, they might go to another studio and bring all that, you don't.
Yeah, I really don't feel like that at all. I mean, I think that Raffa Yoga has a vibe.
The culture.
Yeah, really, definitely a culture. There's a culture that you can feel. It's palpable when you walk in the building. And I give the people in the yoga teacher training everything I've got. I'll give you my years of experience in business. I'll give you my years of experience in yoga. I'll tell you exactly how many mats you need per square foot to make money, those sorts of things. But, the truth is that I really believe in myself, Mark. So I don't feel like I'm competing with anyone. I'm competing with myself every single day. But, people having great ideas or opening up another business, well, that just makes me better. Right? Because I have to hone in on my skill more. Yeah. And the truth of the matter is that there's plenty of room for other people doing yoga, offering other things. And much like this business started, it's evolved so much over 23 years. The yoga business will be open 23 years this year. And, we've tried a variety of things. But I think the one thing that New England knows is that they can rely on Raffa Yoga. It's like we've been here. We've kind of cut our teeth here. We've proven to the community that we're a viable part of the fitness landscape in Rhode Island and really New England.
And so the part that we didn't talk about yet is the urban sweat.
Yeah, totally.
Right.
So urban sweat is the spa concept. It's about 8,000 square feet in this building, and it's really my love.
Okay.
So I absolutely love spa services. So I love to receive spa services.
This is massages?
Yeah, absolutely. Massage and sauna and steam and
so can you go through like the different rooms?
Love to. So Urban Sweat is where all things yoga and healthy are under one roof. But we like to say being this hot has never been so cool within Urban Sweat.
I like it.
So Urban Sweat has our hottest sauna, which is a Finlandian sauna, runs at about 180 degrees. Then we have a yellow turmeric sauna that runs at 160 degrees. We have a black charcoal sauna that runs at 140. We have a Himalayan salt grotto, which is fabulous. 20,000 pounds of Himalayan rock salt that we sourced out of the Himalayan mountains. We had it shipped here. We created this fabulous room that runs at about 110 degrees. We have a eucalyptus steam room. It's 140 degrees, 100% humidity. Then we have what we call our urban hammam, which is a hammam is like a humidity-based room with big marble benches. Hammam actually means spreader of warmth. And so you lie on these benches, if you will. The benches are warmed and you're acclimating yourself to humidity. So in our New England winters, if it's like 0 degrees outside, you have this room before you get into 100% humidity to acclimate your lungs to. Very good for people with any sort of breathing problems or any bronchial issues. And those are our room. We also have an active relaxation center, which is a cool room, for people to relax. We specifically don't have lots of chairs and conventional furniture because we don't want people sitting in a conventional way. We want their bodies to relax and release and kind of open up. Recently, one of our newest additions to Urban Sweat is our cold plunge tubs. So I haven't seen those. Yeah. Oh my gosh, you have to try it. You're coming to the next Cold Club meeting. And basically I trained with Wim Hof back in 2017. I'm sure most people know who Wim Hof is, the cold man as they call him. And bringing cold therapy in is the extreme. So we have these really hot therapies and then we bring in the cold therapies and everything in between. But what we've done over the last couple of years is we've brought in this whole autonomous experience within Urban Sweat. So you could use something called an infrared sauna, which has its own benefits. It runs at a lower temperature. We have this vibrational pod therapy, which is fabulous. It actually vibrates. You're lying on a vibrating table, if you will. And in addition to that, it has this thermogenic process. It goes up to about 150 degrees. So while you're lying on this vibrating table, you have this intense thermogenic process happening where you're really sweating profusely, and it really helps you to release at a cellular level. We also have what's called a liquid sound table, and the liquid sound table is really the future, I believe, the future of medicine, because in the liquid sound table, you're using the vibrational sound to actually repair your DNA. And so there's about 50 different tracks you can use. It's completely passive. You put headphones on, you're lying on this waterbed medium, and it really, you feel so aligned when you come off of it. We also have an acoustic vibrational sound table that's on a foam table transmission, and that we use for the chakra systems to kind of bring your chakras in line. Again, it's another program that it's totally passive that you're able to use. And then in addition to that, we have 12 different therapeutic treatment rooms, everything from sports massage to craniosacral therapy. We have estheticians that do wonderful skin care. We have all sorts of relaxation work, therapeutic massage. We have another business for colon hydrotherapy. So that's a whole separate thing, but I'm a licensed colon hydrotherapist as well, went to school to learn that process. And that's another form of detoxification, an underutilized health hack, as I'd like to say, but hieroglyphics back in the caves showed people giving themselves, colon hydrotherapy years ago.
That's because they were bored, right?
Must be. But truly, colon hydrotherapy, it's another water-based system that's significantly low tech, if you will, that produces really big results. So in addition to all that, we offer different workshops. We obviously have our Breathe Boutique, which, carries our culture of yoga and things healthy and, provides yoga mats and, salt lamps and those sorts of things. And then our newest venture is actually our travel venture. So it's Raffa
Right, that's a
Travel.
cruise, right?
That's right. We're actually going to Croatia in May. And, a small group experiences, totally fabulous. There's still a room left. You should join us. You should come and take the time.
Yeah, I should. Honestly, I probably should. Yeah.
Absolutely. But we rented this small yacht, if you will, and it's going to cruise the Croatian coastline. And we'll offer yoga and meditation each morning and then have the opportunity to really enjoy life.
I feel like I'm not doing enough now.
Oh, please don't.
But you also, do we talk about the...
And we also have the cafe.
Right.
Right. We have the cafe on site, what we call Raffa Real Food. So vegan-based cafe where we do juices and really healthy food. We do wheatgrass shots, that sort of thing. A couple of years ago, I opened up Homegrown Greenhouse, which is a professional greenhouse. It's actually on my personal property. I have a commercial greenhouse that you can grow. I can grow wheatgrass and sprouts and heirloom vegetables. That's another hobby of mine, if you will.
That's incredible, right? I'm like, I need to take notes. So then what does like a normal day for you look like? You said you wake up at 4 o'clock.
Yes. So 3:56 without an alarm. Somehow my eyes open each day.
Gotcha.
And I've trained myself just to get up. At 3:56, it's just time to get up.
Is anyone else in the world up at that time?
I wouldn't know because I do not turn on my phone and I don't look at my computer, but I take care to, I feed my dogs and I make a cup of tea or coffee or whatever it is that I'm doing, and I take a few moments. I'm currently learning Italian on Duolingo, so I do my little Duolingo in the morning.
They say that like at that time is when you actually download.
So true.
Right,
Mark,
the information.
Best time.
That's what like, source, God, whatever.
Got it.
Gives you, like that. They say that's when it really happens.
I believe it.
Yeah.
100%.
A lot of times it happens to me in yoga, right? Because that's my pattern interrupt. But I'm assuming that's one of the benefits of getting up that early.
That meditative process, and, I live out in the woods, so it's really nice to watch the sunrise, and some days I'll even just put on a coat and go out and, stand in the cold on the deck and look into the sky. And I know it sounds kind of, cliche-ish or whatever, but it's in those quiet moments that you really do get a lot of clarity. And I'm so blessed. I have such a lovely community and wonderful people that I work with each and every day. But as an entrepreneur running all these things, people are pulling at you all the time.
So a couple things about that. I got a lot of questions. Let's finish your day. So you get up, you do
all that. So that's until about 7 a.m. And then, there's a varying degree of, emails and paperwork that I can do from home without interruption. So I certainly do that. And really during that time is where I personally work out. I do my either fitness or yoga routine. I also use an infrared sauna each morning that I have at my home. And I'll kind of get that done. Usually in the infrared sauna is where I kind of begin with my, emails and that sort of thing as that starts to take place. And then depending on the day, whether or not I'm actually seeing clients, I try.
You still see clients?
I do still see clients. I see about 10 clients a week. That's plenty.
I agree.
And, I see clients because I love what I do, and I have a very unique expertise in the myofascial pain syndromes of the head, neck, and face. And every time I want to, bow out, they pull me back in, So with that said, I keep it really limited to people with really specific injuries and just try to put the expertise that I have in that avenue. And then I've got a great infrastructure here. My staff is wonderful. They're all really trained well. And so for the most part, if things are running well on a daily basis, a lot of my, day is just making sure that things are at the high quality level, the cleanliness, the equipment is functioning properly. And most times, if you do see me in the facility, I usually have my baseball hat on.
Incognito.
I'm managing sweat, as I say. But a lot of what I'm doing is working on the business instead of in the business.
Well, which is extremely important.
Yeah, of course.
Now, a couple things with this. So we know as entrepreneurs, you're constantly putting out fires, right? Every day, I could look at my phone now and there's 3 messages. Who wants to cancel? Who wants to sign up? Who wants to know why they got billed? How do you keep yourself level?
Yeah. So first off, I surround myself with really good, trained and talented people, and I stay out of their way.
Sure.
So I'm not looking to micromanage their every movement. And I think when you give people that latitude and you really, I rely on them that they will bring stuff to me if they're looking for additional input or they can't find a resolution. But I've got to allow the people that I've hired to do their job.
I agree with that. I just heard a quote, you micromanage until you trust them, and then you let them go.
Yeah.
Right. We had a meeting last night, and like you, great employees, I was like, handle it unless I need to know about it.
Sure.
If I need to know about it, you let me know. If you need guidance, let me know. But just handle it, right?
Yeah.
Because there's other things that we need to focus on.
Sure.
Because if we're steering the ship, well, we have to leave the wheel.
Definitely.
Like, where's the ship going?
Sure.
Right. How important for you is this community? The reason I ask is, like, I've had a martial arts school basically since I've been 16. I've grown up with the community of martial artists. Even the guy I interviewed last night was from the martial arts,
cool.
like the 90s, right?
Yeah.
With the students, with the employees, I've had people pass on. I've had people quit. I've had people from black belts. But that's what actually kind of gives me the inner strength. Like, I always go to a place where people show themselves at their best level to me, right? Because people come in here, like, they want to be better. So you see, like, the best versions of people. Sometimes it's interesting to me. I'm like, that doesn't seem like that person. But I only know the version of the person that comes into my studio, right? I don't know the whole thing. But, that's where I draw, like, my confidence. Like, I'm excited to go tonight and see everybody working out, have people come up to me and be like, you changed my life.
Absolutely.
But they don't know that they changed my life, right? Because it's a give and take. So how important is this community to you? How has it kept you upright?
Yeah.
When they don't even know that.
Sure. It's the reason we exist. And
connection?
It's the reason we exist. We are here in service to the community. And the first time you lose sight of that, you've lost your mission statement. Our mission really as a facility is to be in service in the different avenues that we're offering. And I think that, one of the reasons I certainly don't have to be here every day. I mean, not in a whatever way, but I don't have to be here every day. Oftentimes I'll come in because I enjoy watching the wheel turn. Yeah. It's a lot of personal satisfaction and really gratitude is, to see people coming and going and, rosy cheeks smiling and they're like, oh my gosh, I did my first handstand, or, oh my gosh, I love the sauna. I just felt so good afterwards. My health is improving. My, blood pressure is down, whatever it is. Those sorts of things keep me humble and in check. And one of the things that I do as well is every once in a while I'll come in. In fact, I did it yesterday morning. Is I came in and I did the opening to the building. So I got here an hour before my staff and I opened the building myself.
Does that allow you to remember where you came from?
100%.
Yeah. Sometimes I like sweeping the mats.
Yeah, definitely. And, the staff comes in and they're so excited because you just did their whole opening sequence. And they're like, well, why did you do that? And I said, well, first off, because I want to remember what it's like to come in here and do the opening. I said, it also helps me to see how they close the night before.
Sure.
Right? But in addition to that, it also helps me look at timing and are we doing things efficiently? And when I step back from it and I'm not doing it every day and then I go back in and I do it, how can we do this better, faster, more efficient? Those sorts of things. Oh no, we really do need new mops. We really do need new equipment for this. So I think it's always good to take that back seat and watch and listen. And so for me, I do like to keep my fingers in it because it gives me that perspective firsthand.
Well, you also lead by example.
Yes.
Right? And I think when they see the owner doing it who doesn't have to do it.
Sure.
Even though you're the owner, you're the boss, you're calling the shots, you're one of them.
Yeah, definitely.
Right? On some level.
Totally.
I think that's important. I tell people, listen, because, I might hire people, listen, you'd much rather hire an attitude than skill.
Totally.
Right? Because you could have all the skill and have a horrible attitude. It ain't going to work.
That's right.
Anyway, so you could have somebody with not much training. I'm going to train you how to do it. And I have a doctorate. But we're even. You know what I'm saying? We're both humans. Sure. We just had different paths in life. Talking about social media.
Yeah.
And how that's changed society.
Yeah. Okay. So social media, it's no secret, is not my favorite thing. So to me, I would much rather do this than transcribe, messages on Facebook. But social media is a critical part of the business accolades these days. So what I did was I hired someone else that was really good at it.
Sure.
And social media is something that you absolutely do need in your business nowadays. It's a generational thing. We definitely see people of a certain age group that are on it way more or on different platforms. We see people of an older age group that are on certain platforms. And I think one of the most interesting things I've learned about social media, because again, although it's not my love, I do educate myself to it. And I just took a course recently in reference to social media. And it says more people are looking at social media than are commenting on social media. So you may not see 100 likes on something, but it's getting the eyeball views that you're looking for, and you have to kind of trust in that. So
that makes sense, because when we did like creepy Cranstonian videos, we did other things like that, people would come up to me before the podcast even and be like, wow, you're doing big things, right? And I would say Almex.
Yeah.
And like the supermarket, stuff like that. And they've never liked or comment, and I didn't even think, right?
Sure.
And they're like, wow, like, that's really impressive. Like, I love what you're doing. They've never liked or commented.
Yeah.
And that reminds me, okay, like, I don't need them to. Listen, we do things in life so we can help people, but we can learn.
Definitely.
Right? So you put it out there, well, they got value from it. They saw it. They actually knew what it was. So that makes sense. But talk to me about how it's changed society.
Well, I think it's created a false society. I think it's a perceived...
Everyone's not on yachts?
Yeah, right? I think it's a perceived perception. I think there's lots of people, getting together, hooting and howling and saying, my life is great, having a fabulous time. But in the same breath, in our society, we know that more people are depressed than ever before. More people are on depression and anti-anxiety medications than ever before.
A lot of women.
Yeah. I think a lot of humans. Yeah. And maybe it is more women than men. But women are more likely to go to a physician than men are. So, it's really hard to say. But one thing that I will say with social media is that you can be who you want to be on social media, but it's not necessarily who you really are.
Yes,
you can put a persona that you're this fun-loving person doing all these wonderful things, but really be lonely or miserable in the same breath. So I think that social media has its place. I think from a business perspective, social media absolutely has its place. You're able to stay current. You're able to show different things that you have. It's a great free way, if you will, to really press upon new products or new programs that you're offering. But I'd much rather meet someone for a cup of tea or go for a walk. And I think that today's society, I see it even in my younger nieces and nephews and stuff, they're kind of missing that. They're all in the same room texting each other, but they're not talking to each other.
So I think that's going to cause a lot of things down the road. So interpersonal communications can't happen, right? How are you supposed to date somebody if you can't, right? You won't have that connection. You're losing the human connection. I remember I was talking to a friend of mine who's one of my students, and we were talking about how we're going to automate the stuff for the studio. And he's like, listen, don't lose the human connection. And that's stuff.
Great advice.
Right? Great
advice.
Tons of things are automated.
Yeah.
You can sign up, and we have automated texts that go to you.
Sure.
Right? Boom, 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 boom. But we still have a human behind it, because I know that that's the difference, right? That's the difference maker. Like, if you were just not you weren't here, or your teachers weren't who they were, and it was just kind of somebody who had no skills, like no interpersonal skills, you wouldn't stay.
Sure.
Right? Listen, it's really about being in rapport with somebody. That keeps, and now rapport is not something that you keep. You have to keep working on that.
Of course.
So if people don't have those skills, then you're not going to get anywhere. Now, I don't know if you know this, because you don't really like social media, but they just released Chat GPT. You know about this?
I do not.
Okay. So this is a website. It's an artificial intelligence. You can literally type whatever you want into this, and it'll create it. Which means I could be like, hey, write me a essay on the French Revolution in 2,500 words, and do it like I was Donald Trump. It will write the whole thing within seconds. So now what happens is everything's automated. So you literally would never have to write an essay again. So kids, right? You just go to the web, boom.
Sure.
What did it put out immediately? Copywriters, right? You don't need anybody to write your sales copy anymore.
Gotcha.
It does it for you, right? So this is what's coming next.
Definitely.
But it can't replace the human connection of having a conversation. It can do, I mean, you can have, and you can write a song, right? It could be like, hey, write me the new press release for Raffa Yoga. Boom. What is Raffa Yoga? It'll tell you.
Yeah.
In a second.
Amazing.
Right? But that's what's coming.
Sure.
But to offset that as a business, it's being human, having that connection with somebody, sitting down across from them, looking eye to eye, and understanding who they are.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's what separates a lot of businesses from just
definitely
like a big box business. How important do you think it is to follow your passion in life, and how many people do you think actually do that?
I think there's a smaller amount of people that actually do it, but I think it's one of the most important key elements to really finding some level of happiness. At least for me, it was. I was never going to be a 9-to-5er kind of sitting behind the desk. You know, I have a very, specific thought pattern. And from a very early age, I knew that beating to my own drum was the only way. I wasn't the kid that you could fit in that box. But I also think that passion unrealized is sorrow. I think a lot of people say, well, I had to do this because of my responsibilities. I've always somehow figured out a way to take what I've been passionate about and make that my focus, which was able to make my income, if you will.
Do you think passion is a complete kit? Meaning, if you follow your passion, the universe will bring everything that you need to make it a reality?
I think that, again, I think it's one of the key ingredients. I also think that, I'm passionate about running, but that wasn't, the thing that brought me my, if you will, my income or my career path. I think you have to take passion and harness it along with something that makes sense for you. You could be passionate about anything. That doesn't mean that you're going to pay your mortgage on that, if you will. But for me, it was more about being in balance. I want to be in balance in all different, aspects of my life. And so when starting a new passion, if you will, it always starts through deep research for me.
And then it becomes a business for you.
And then it becomes a business for me. 9 times out of 10, it does become a business for me.
So I think in today's world, people think that happiness is a state of being that you're always supposed to be, right? Well, if you were always happy, you wouldn't really do anything.
Of course.
Right? You need that contrast to expand.
Definitely.
And it's really in the journey of becoming happy, right? So here's the thing. We know that I want to write this book, right? I want to write it. I feel that me doing this would make me really happy. Well, the process of doing it has its ups and downs, but you're working towards it. You're happy. Once you release that book, the happiness is there, but it's gone.
Yeah.
Right? Because you did it. It's like buying a new car. I want the car. You get the car. Okay. Like a week later, you're like, right? So I feel like it's really, people need to learn that you're trying to do everything you can to be happy. And I think you need to exercise. You need to be creative. You have to have the human connection. You have to keep evolving, but not to be like, I'm not happy right now. Right? And take that as like who you are. Happiness is a journey, and you keep going to the next level of happiness.
Sure.
And at different ages of life, one of the beauties of getting older is your different perspective.
Definitely.
And different things make you happy.
Sure.
Like, I'm not going to be really happy now if I get a Nintendo.
Yeah.
Right? But when I was 10, I was like, oh, this is great. Yeah. So what are your thoughts on that? About what people think, everybody does everything because they think they'll be happier having it or doing it. But it's not a state of being you're going to keep the whole time, because then you can't evolve as a person. You have thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think again, the balance piece is what comes into play. It's like, what makes you happy isn't necessarily going to make me happy. But I think freedom, options, choices, feeling as though you have the opportunity to pursue the things that interest you, I think those bring people into happier states. I don't think it's necessarily money. You know, people who have lots of money can be absolutely miserable.
Well, I heard that money only solves money problems.
Yeah. There may be a lot of truth to that. But in turn, like, what is happiness? I guess that's how you have to dial into it. Like, on a daily basis, what makes you happy? I wake up in the morning and, you know, I turn the water on and there's hot water. Yippee, I'm happy, right? So if you woke up in the morning and you turned the hot water on to take a shower and there wasn't hot water, would that make you happy?
That would not make me happy.
Okay. Yeah. So there's like varying degrees of it, right? So how do people place what their happiness is and what's their requirement to be happy? I mean, you have food, you have a roof over your head, you have a business you love, you have family that cares for you. Do those bring people into happiness? I think one conversation that we haven't, you know, or avenue we haven't danced down is really the psycho-emotional component of being. Right? And that's so tied into all things yoga and healthy because, you know, bottom line, you don't have your health. Well, then you're, you know, the biochemical aspect of who you are isn't feeling well. And then that has an outcome. So I think we have all these, you know, I think we have all these different things. But in terms of happiness itself, I think happiness is a choice and you choose to be happy, you know? I think you can, you know, you can ponder on that, but it boils down to you choose to be happy.
So let's talk about being happy and let's say not being depressed.
Sure.
We talked about that humans are on all these antidepressant medications. I'm not saying you shouldn't take it, right? Whatever your doctor says, whatever. Yeah. However, if it actually worked, then the people who are depressed wouldn't be depressed anymore. So it's my theory, my limited brain is like, it's a Band-Aid. Yeah, it might help you feel better, but you have to take action to fix that. I believe from doing this for so long, the way you really start fixing depression is by exercising.
100%.
Right? Because that gives you the dopamine, it gives you the endorphins. I'm doing something for myself. A lot of people, especially women, because I talk to women all the time, the reason why they're unhappy, they're unhealthy, they're stressed out, is because they make everybody a priority except themselves, right? They take care of everyone else first. And now if you're not replenishing your cup, you can't be the best mother, you can't be the best wife, you can't be the best person because you're giving too much. So it's like, okay, let's take care of you first. How do we do that? We eat better, we exercise.
Sure.
And I'll tell a secret. It doesn't matter what kind of exercise you do, whether it's yoga, Zumba, kickboxing, martial arts, if you walk, it doesn't matter.
Yes.
What really matters is the nutrition and that you're moving. And now, if you want to strength train, stuff like that, but that's what you need to start doing. And I think people are just, okay, let me take this pill. Like my dad's a perfect example. He's a great guy, and he has diabetes. He's like, I'll just take the shot, right? And then, and he doesn't worry. And then the doctor's like, well, I really need you to like check your sugar. He's like, nah, doc, I'm fine. He's like, well, I need to know if I'm going to like change your meds. He's like, not touching it. Yeah. Like, this is working. That's my dad.
Yeah.
That's a lot of people.
Sure.
You know, versus I'd be like, let me exercise, eat better to get off this. Yeah. But have you seen that? Like when people really want to change their life, work out first, take the meds that your doctor prescribes, work out first, and then see, you know, what we can do from there.
Well, it's an interesting thing, right? So exercise is really at its bottom level. You can exercise by walking outside. And just like you said, I have people ask me all the time, well, which is the best class? Which is the one that's going to give me the best results? And my answer is always the same. It's the one you actually like and the one you take.
You have to be consistent.
Yeah. So first and foremost, most people are willing to lay out the money for the liposuction or the this or the that, but they're not willing to spend the time to invest in themselves. The best investment you can make is in yourself.
Right.
Self-care is healthcare. So at a very guttural level, if you don't have 30 minutes to exercise every day, do you even have a life if you don't have 30 minutes to yourself?
You don't, and you're probably spending it at work, working overtime, and that job will get rid of you in a heartbeat.
Absolutely.
Right? You're making too much money. We'll put someone else in there. Oh, put a robot in there.
There you go, which is all those things are coming. So I think at whatever level, one of the most important things that we need to really try to educate people to, if they're interested in listening, is that their self-care is the greatest value. The biggest commodity is time. We can't make more time. But within that time, we all have the same 24 hours a day. Like, what are you doing with your 24 hours? What am I doing with my 24 hours? And I'll say to people, hey, I get up every day at 4 o'clock. Oh, I'm not doing that.
3:56.
3:56. Absolutely. But hey, I'm not doing that. Well, why not? Oh, I can't do that. I need my sleep. Go to bed earlier.
Yeah. Well, I mean, listen, I think excuses get people stuck.
Absolutely.
And you can look at what's coming out of your mouth, and then you can tell what they're living.
Without
just by what they're saying.
Sure.
So are the people that you look up to, so you have to be like the beacon of light of this place, right? Which I think is fitting that your hair is blonde.
Yeah, there you go.
But are the people that you look up to for inspiration to keep you motivated?
Yeah. If there's one thing that I do is I continue to train and learn. And I can train and learn in a variety of different ways. I like to educate myself in things that I have interest in. I read every day. Long ago, I learned that readers are leaders. And so...
So you say that again?
Readers are leaders.
I like it.
And I read every single day. I read, I'm a voracious reader. My Audible account applauds me. I'm constantly reading something and different things. I personally don't choose to read a lot of fiction and that sort of thing. A lot of times I am reading something that I'm learning about. But I think when you stretch your mind that way, it keeps you interested in life. When I hear people say that they're bored, I'm always really puzzled by that.
You just tell them to start a business.
But how are you bored? There's so many things to learn. There's so many things to do. There's so many things to experience. Well, I don't have anyone to do it with. Well, do it with yourself. Grab your dog. Go outside. Do something. So to me, it's like you also have to be a joiner, right? Everyone's isolating in their houses. Oh, there's nothing to do. There's plenty to do. Call some friends, get together, have a think tank, make a mastermind group, talk about things that matter. Like what's on your mind? Oh, I don't have any friends. Be a friend if you want to have some friends.
Yeah.
All these things that, again, lead back to what you were saying, the interpersonal skills. If we have people being isolated and separated and machines are coming in and that sort of thing, what is a human to do? Well, we've got to roll with the times.
I think in the past, people were worried that online fitness is going to be the future, which it may be, but seeing someone through a screen, at least right now, cannot compare to an in-person class, right? Because we offer online classes too, and then people come in, and then we give them the option of both in the same package, and they're like, "No, I want to come in studio." And I'm like, "Of course you want to come in studio. You want to hear the music. You want to see the other people working out. You want to have that experience."
Clearly.
Right? And now you give people a really good experience here. What are the keys to giving a client a 5-star experience? Because I feel like you at least try to deliver it every time.
Yes, absolutely.
You can't always. I'm assuming you're pretty good at it. But what are the keys to delivering that 5-star experience?
I think consistency. When people walk through the door, they know what they're signing up for. At least they know what they're looking for: quality. They're looking for cleanliness. They're looking for professionalism. They're looking for us to keep them safe. And I think that we've really built the trust of the community. I've heard people say, well, if you're recommending or saying that, this is a good book to read, I know you do the research, I'm going to read it. Yeah. Those sorts of things. So I do think that there's a level of trust that you build. We bring people in. We manage sweat all day long. We have people sweating in yoga classes and fitness classes. We have people sweating in saunas. Having a clean environment is so important. And one thing that I did learn, even with employees and staff, is people's level of clean is not always the same.
Sure.
So one of the very first things that we do is we teach people to clean at our level. So we want a real level of cleanliness. You should be able to look down the hallway and see the floors shine.
Which you can.
Absolutely. And that's one of my pet peeves is that we actually wax the floors every 3 months here. And we don't need to do it every 3 months. And but we wax the floors every 3 months because it's really important that we're looking into those nooks and crannies and making sure everything is really, really clean. Cleanliness, as the saying goes, is next to godliness, right? But when you come into an environment that's clean and organized, there's a feng shui that happens to it. There's an energy, there's a feel. Well, the place is being taken care of. Stuff isn't just thrown in the corner in a big pile.
Well, I think there's an expectation that if it's like this, the class is going to be like this too.
Absolutely.
Right? I think that's hugely important. I think it also helps that, I don't know, this very nice person at the front desk, she's always there.
Yeah, totally.
Right? Like, so when you come in, oh, same person. Now, and I'm big on this too. And I think I've become like a customer service snob since I've had my business. But we use everyone's favorite word is their name.
Of
right?
course.
So we use
smart.
We use that. I'm a doctor.
Yeah.
So we use that all the time with people. Like when people are teaching, they're saying people's names. Hey, Christine, Tanya, like whatever. Well, I don't know her name, but
that's Brittany.
Brittany.
She's fabulous.
She's like, hey, Mark. Okay, now listen. I'm just walking into a yoga studio. I don't have to sign in. She just says hello. And to me, it's like she has it. Like that's how it's supposed to be. And it gives you like, oh, I'm like status.
Absolutely.
Which is so silly because I'm literally just walking by the front desk.
Definitely.
I go to LA Fitness in Cranston. I'll put them on blast. The worst gym I've ever been in my life. Like literally I only go because it's 2 minutes from my house. So what do they care? They get my money. But dirty.
Yeah.
No customer service. It's like no towels anywhere, like even sprays out. But when you walk by the front desk, for the majority of the time I've been there for the 8 years, no one says hello. I think I've seen people sleeping at the front desk, and I'm like, if this was my gym, and this is a corporate, I would be all over these people. I'd put them in tuxes and suits.
Sure.
And let them. What does this say now about this gym?
Sure.
You probably charge me $49 a month.
Yeah,
right.
Just pay it. Sure.
Just by the front desk, you know. So when I come to a smaller business or an owner that cares, totally different experience. I'll pay more for that.
Sure.
You know. 2 more questions.
Okay.
So if you had one wish, what would it be?
Sure. If I had one wish, what would it be? I guess it would really be that everyone realizes their full potential. I think one of the most frightening or scariest things could be is meeting yourself 10 years from now, the person who you could have been if you applied yourself and if you did all those things. I don't ever want to meet the person I could have been. I want to be that person. I want to be that person by applying myself, by taking the initiative to learn. And I think so many people are limited by their own belief system that they can't do it, or it's not for them, or they're not capable. So for me, my wish would be for obviously people to be healthy and happy and peace on earth and, you know, the cliches. But I really, my wish would be is that people really are able to see their full potential.
So life is a culmination of decisions.
Yeah.
But I think nowadays people think it needs to be like instant, right? You do one podcast, you get 1 million views.
Yeah.
Right? Sure. Where it takes 5 years of consistently doing something. Yeah. In this case, in the podcast, to actually gain traction. I think people nowadays just aren't willing to suck at something for like, you know what I'm saying?
I got you. Totally.
I sucked at business for a while. And it was funny because people would be like, you're really good at business. I was like, well, if you saw my financials, you wouldn't really say that.
Sure.
I just happen to have more students than other people.
Yeah,
because I didn't give up.
Definitely.
But then you learn. And then you're like, okay, now people are like,
sure,
this makes sense, right? Like, to me, it's like, now I know what I'm doing because I've made all the mistakes prior. Right? You have to make mistakes to do it. I think people are afraid to make those mistakes and actually become that 10-year version of themselves.
Yeah. So someone very wise once told me, you overestimate what you can do in a year, and you underestimate what you can achieve in a decade. And I think one of the really cool things with Raffa Yoga is that because we've been here now for 2 decades and going on more, is that we never stop growing and we never stop learning.
That's the key, 100%.
And I think our students realize that. I think our customers realize that. And people are always walking in and, oh my gosh, you've added something different and you've done whatever. It's like you either evolve or you die. I mean, the business either evolves or it's stagnant and then it slowly dies.
Well, for us, being stagnant is not fun either.
That's never going to happen.
So what's next for Raffa? What do you have up your sleeve?
Actually,
you don't tell all your secrets.
Yeah, I haven't told all of my secrets, but actually what's really next for us in this particular, in 2023, is that we're going to be opening up our outdoor patio. And so we built our patio back in 2019. As we know, the last couple of years have been so much tumultuous, so we haven't really rolled that out in full fashion. but we have a big patio on the side of the building, beautifully decorated. We have an outdoor sauna that's going out there. And so we're going to kind of tie in the outdoor and the indoor. We hope to have live music one night a week and really bring it to a place where people can come and just, enjoy themselves in a healthy way. And I don't know about you, I go out with friends or my sisters or whatever it might be. And how much can you go out to dinner? How much can you go shopping? How much can you go and have your nails done? One of the essence of Urban Sweat is that you can do something healthy together. Yeah. And Marc, when you sit with a friend in a sauna and it's 180 degrees and your body, your skin, your pores start opening, and you're putting your head down a little bit to catch your breath a little bit, and your heart rate starts to move, an interesting thing happens. You start to talk about things that are a little bit deeper to you. You're not so surface. And I think one of the amazing things that happens in those saunas is that people talk about things that matter. And I think that that's one of the under-realized benefits of this detoxification, if you will, that happens within your body when you sweat.
So it's kind of like you're detoxing your body and you're detoxing your soul.
Without a doubt.
So somebody's watching this. I want to say I thoroughly enjoyed this because
excellent.
This is we haven't had a conversation. We talked for a little bit before, but it's just
seconds.
We're very alike. I just have more gray hair. But so someone is watching this, they want to change their life. They don't know where to start.
Sure.
With all your experience, what are you telling them? You're their coach.
Sure.
Can you look at the camera and just tell them?
Yeah, definitely. So one of the first things that we do is anyone who comes into Raffa, if they have questions about how to really utilize our services here, is that I will actually sit with them and give them a free consultation of where to start. And it's not about me talking. It's actually about me listening. So they come in and they're like, okay, well, tell me what I need to do to change. And it's like, well, let's back up for a moment. Actually, I need you to tell me who you are. And it's from those questions of inquiry that you can gain a lot of insight to where people are, where their mindset's at, where their physical health is at, those sorts of things. And then from there, you can guide them gently, if they have interest, to things that they may like more.
Sure.
And in doing that, again, back to the same thing. What exercise class is going to work for them? The one they like and the one they show up for. But I think people need to look at health in a very different way. It's not something you do because you're unhealthy. Health is a lifestyle. It's the way of being. And your way of being is awake and aware and fresh. I want to eat the freshest foods I can. I want to drink pure water. I want to move my body on a daily basis. To me, doing those things lead to the wheel of happiness. I'm not looking for happiness first. I'm willing to do all those things in that roundabout circle that brings me to that point that I can sit back and say, wow, it was a good day today.
And I think the important thing is that's stuff you have to do on a daily basis.
Absolutely.
Right? You can't just get happy and then we're happy forever. Right? You're consistently doing it. And one of the things I wanted to bring up, you talked about your potential and then where you're at. So that creates a gap. And since you know where you want to go and you know where you're not, that tends to throw people off. Sure. Right? But if you use it constructively and you're like, this is where I want to go, but these are the stairs I have to take.
Definitely.
As you're going up those stairs and you go up the next rung, you're getting happy. Right? Because that's your goal. But if you didn't have that goal in the first place,
yes.
Right? We talk about, you accomplish a goal, you set a new goal. Well, now you're on the bottom level again.
Definitely.
Right? So innately, I'm not going to feel that great because I haven't achieved that. Or, I haven't, listen, sometimes you need to use fake competition from other people.
Sure.
I want to do what Christine does.
Sure.
I'm not there yet, but I'm watching. But now, as I work my way towards that, and I make these juices out of my fridge, my kitchen, as you take steps towards that, you become happier.
Sure.
And as you're on your path, other things open.
Without
right. So if someone doing this and they're changing their life, they might unlock a whole side of themselves that they didn't even know just by taking the steps that you recommended.
Yeah. Well, what I will say is, Marc, you're a successful guy. Success leaves clues. So if people are watching and they're listening to you, you're leaving clues to what led you to your success. you know, discipline is not a dirty word. Like the disciplined mind, the disciplined body, you know, these levels of discipline are what lead us to the consistency that bring us to realize our untapped potential. You know, I'm disciplined in what I do. I've trained myself. I'm disciplined to get up every morning. I'm disciplined to move my body so that I have more clarity. My blood's pumping. I've already sweated. I'm ready to go before I start my day, and I'll roll out of the bed and wipe my eyes and come into work. It's like I've already had my life, my personal time. I've meditated. I've prayed. I've decided what I wanted my day to look like. I'm studying with Dr. Joe Dispenza now. You know, I was just in Colorado with Joe Dispenza back in May. It's like I'm putting all those things into play. And each and every day when I do that, it's like I make room for me to be more of who I am, you know?
So you're setting the intention of the day.
Without a doubt.
And I think I love what Dr. Joe Dispenza is doing. One of the quotes I heard, I think I said this with Pam, which he said is, if you're not in love with your future, you're just set to create your past.
Absolutely.
And I was like, yeah, because
so awesome.
If you don't have a vision of where you want to go, you're going to keep doing the same things that you've been doing every day.
Yes.
But Christina, I love this. I love this conversation with you.
So great to get to talk with you.
Yeah.
Really.
But I mean, it's not many times where I see somebody, I was like, wow, they have it. But
sure.
You have that. And
well,
yeah,
thank you.
wish you, I don't need to wish you, but
yeah.
Tremendous success. And I'd love to do this again.
Yeah, totally. It would be my pleasure. Thank you, Mark.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
Hello, my name is Dr. Marc Bochner. Don't forget to check out my new book, Pug Learns to Believe.
Hey guys, Dr. Marc here. Now I know a lot of you want to know how we get all these amazing results with our clients, and it comes down to 3 things. The first is fun fitness classes that burn a lot of calories. 2 is giving you an accountability coach to make sure you stay on track and get the best results. And 3 is the nutrition. Included in the nutrition is our food supplements. So we pair with Prestige Labs because I feel they are the best, they have integrity, and they get great results. These are actually the supplements that I take as well. Here's the awesome part. By clicking the link below, you can save 40% off the retail price. So you need that link to actually save 40%. If you just go to the normal site without my link, you're paying full price, okay? So these are the supplements my clients use. If you are interested, definitely click the link below and it'll tell you all about them.